Let's begin with the family tree of Thelma Rhymes. Her family tree starts with her father's side. Her father's side, her great-grandmother was Phyllis Hulsey, who was born a slave and lived for 105 years. She had a daughter named Lizzie Hulsey, and Lizzie Hulsey had two sons, Jim Hulsey, Jesse Hulsey. Jim Hulsey was the father of Thelma Neal. All right. Jim Hulsey married Sally Jane Marshall Neal, who was Thelma's mother. Sally Jane had a mother named Belle Marshall, which was Thelma's grandmother on her mother's side. And Belle Marshall had been married to Mr. Marshall, which was Thelma's grandfather. Belle Marshall, Thelma's grandmother, married Sam Neal, who became her grandfather, step-grandfather. And Sam Neal had 4 children: Needham Neal, Neely Neal, Rabbit Neal, Johnny Neal, and he had a daughter, Teal Neal. Those Neals became Sally Jane Marshall's step brothers and sisters, and also Thelma's uncles and aunt. Sam Neal went on, after Belle Marshall's death, to marry Frances Neal. But Sally Jane had 3 children. First, Lynn Esther Neal, Thelma Louise Neal, and Mary Frances Neal. That is the family tree of Thelma Rhymes. You will hear her mention all these people in her own story.
All right, this is my family history of Thelma Rhymes. I was born in Jackson, Tennessee, Madison County, to Jim Hudson and Sally Jane Marshall. She went in the name of Neal. And my birthday was a controversial thing for as long as my mother and father lived. I had 2 birthdays. To my father, I was born New Year's Day. To my mother, I was born 5 minutes to 12. December the 31st, 1923. So that went on until they died. I had 2 birthdays. So they both are dead now. So I always went always took December 31st birthday. Because my mother should have known. They were married. My older sister was named Lynn Esther, really. Lynn Esther died when she was a baby, 6 months old. She died of whooping cough. And then I was born. I'm really not the oldest girl. Then May Frances was born, which is me. So, I really don't know. We really didn't know my mother and father to live together as father and mother or husband and wife, because they never got along, I heard. Because we were too young to know anything about it. And when we knew ourselves, we were living with my father's people. We were told that we were left on some doorsteps. I was 2 years old and my sister was about 8 months old or something like that, they said. And they said that someone come and got us. I don't know what he told them or what, but my father's people come, and we wound up at his house. Because he run my mother away with a shotgun, and we didn't lie her back home together. So we had to live with our father's people, which was his mother. And that was our grandmother. She lived with her son. Jesse and his family. So we lived with them until I was about 7 years old. My grandmother's name was Bessie Hussey. She took care of us until she died. I was 7 years old when she died. Yeah, I slept with her every night. I was crazy about my grandmother, and I went with her everywhere. Everywhere she went, I went. So I went to church with her, and I'd sleep with her, and everywhere. Then I woke up one night, and they was pulling me out from under her. And that's what I remember. They put her in a basket and took her up the hill. We lived in a valley. Down in a valley. Come out that valley, we had to go up on a mountain like to get out of there. Where people lived. Didn't nobody I know of live down in the valley but us. That was my Uncle Jesse and his family. He had about 8 or 9 children. Well, a milk dairy. He worked at a milk dairy where a lot of cows was. Sometimes during that, before grandmother died, my dad would come and get me. He made like he was married, and I knew he wasn't married to all them women. And each time he married them women, he would come and get me. He would say, Bean, he called me Bean. Bean, come stay with us a while. And because I was crazy about my dad. I would go stay with him in 2 or 3 nights or something. And I'd come back to grandma. After my grandmother died, my mother was over in the city of Jackson, Tennessee, which we hadn't seen in a long time because he didn't allow her out there. We lived with our uncle, and he didn't allow us to go to school. That was my daddy's brother, the only brother he had living. And he didn't allow, no, we down in the valley hiding from the world. Didn't allow us to go to no school. His children either. I was 7 years old. Nobody went to no school. And you didn't have no authorities come looking for you, in them days. My mother consulted a lawyer. Meanwhile, she had already got her divorce. Why, those folks were divorced when I knew them. I never knew them to be married. They were divorced when I knew them people. I'm talking about them like it wasn't my parents. But that's the way we were raised. And the only reason Mama won was the school issue. We were that age, and he wouldn't let us go to school. And Mama won out. Well, you'd have thought we was hilarious, Praise the good Lord. We were going to have a home after all out the valley. We were going to school. We didn't know the worst trouble was coming. So the white lady Mama worked for, named Mrs. Hoskett, said, well, you can bring the children to live with you in your quarters. And said the neighbors won't mind. You got some very good children. And so they can go to school while you work. So we thought that was just heaven, That worked for a while until some of them old prejudiced white folks got to seeing us little black children running around, taking over the white folks' kitchen, and we would even eat at the dining room table. Oh, we were just having a good time. Well, those white folks got jealous with the old prejudices and told Mrs. Hoskett that it would be better if she let her maid send those children to her folks. The community began to complain about the little. Yeah, did you know there was a time that white people called black folks darkies? Those darkies to her people. Then Mama cried, and so she told us that we had to go to stay with her people. Now, in the meantime, we didn't know nothing about her folks. We only knew our daddy's people, because we only stayed with them. So I told my friends, I said, here we go again on this long goose trail. And that's when we come in contact with Uncle Johnny, Uncle Neely, Uncle Needham, Uncle Rabbit, all of those was Mama's half brothers. Well, now here come the Neils, how they got in the picture. Mama, mother, her mother was named Belle, and Mama's mother married a marshal, and she had one child by this marshal man, and that child was my mother. He died, and so he died, and Mama's mother married Sam Neil. Well, when she married Sam Neil, she had all these other children, which made them Mama's half brothers. She had one girl named Teal, and that was Mama's half sister. So that made Sam Neil Mama's stepdaddy. Instead of them, Mama keeping her Marshall name, which was her father's name, her mother switched her illegally to Neil. You know what I mean when I say illegal? Just say, well, you're going to be Neil, you know. Your name is Sally Jane Neil. Well, that took her birthright away from her because it's really Marshall. Mama become a Neil, and that's how she got to be a Neil. The old man was so mean to well, in the meantime, Mama's mama, he was so mean to Mama's mama, they tell me, that he beat her, run her, just do her like a dog, and hit her in the head with a stick of stove wood. And she had a lot of hair. And he said, one hot summer, she fell out. And when they examined her, and the doctors examined her, and found a hole in her head up there big as your fist, where it had ate from that lick he gave her, and it sank in, and nobody seen about it, and they didn't take her to the doctor, nothing. And it killed her. So and they said the police told him, if you didn't have all these little children, we would skin you alive. We would put you in jail, but it's worth more to keep you out, to make you take care of these children, than it is to put you in jail, you know. So they kept him out. But they realized, they said that my mother told me this, that he was the cause of her death. He was so mean till they had a storm come up down there. And I don't know, because he was like that. A storm came up, and they was flying out there in the field. Everybody with any sense, when a storm came up in Tennessee, you just on to harness your mules, and you went home fast as you could get there. You didn't stay out in the open for the lightning to strike you. But he cursed everybody out that did it. Told them, you better get back in that field and start plowing. You got to get this cotton out. And nobody paid him no mind, so he stayed out there. I guess he gonna dare God to hit him. So his dare was taken. And one hard clap of lightning said struck his mule first, killed the mule out from under him, and then struck him. When they saw him laying out there, they thought he was dead. But God didn't kill him, but he didn't hear from that day to the day he died. That lightning knocked all the hearing out of him. And so that made him worse, because he always thought people was talking about him when they wasn't, you know. He couldn't understand what you were saying. You holler at him, he'd get mad. He'd get mad if you holler at him, because that's the only way he could hear anything. If you didn't holler at him, he's mad. If you hollered at him, he's mad. So you had a time trying to live with that demon man. Well, anyway, he was so mean to Mama, went to stay with her mother's people, which was Aunt Jenny and them. Mama did. And Cousin Merle. Yeah. Well, after she did that and grew up to be a young lady, how she met my daddy, that demon, I can't tell you. Where she met him and how she met him, I was never discussed. I don't know where she met him at. But then she met him, and she married him. Sent us out there to live with Sam Neal. Yeah. We did fine for a while. We got out there, and we thought, oh, well, and he had the prettiest orchard, all that fruit, and he had all kind of peach trees, apple trees, grapes hanging. Oh, we thought, man, we really got a good thing here now. We didn't know you couldn't pick up a peach off the ground, or apple that fell or nothing. He'd shoot at you. You'd have to ask him, could you pick up something that fell on the ground? God, leave them down there. Shoot the chickens in the yard, in the garden, he'd shoot them. Get out there, just like the chickens had sense. Didn't I tell you to get out that garden? Where's old Betsy? Grandma said, don't kill no more of them chickens. He'd kill them. I looked around, and one night, he had to act. Me and my friends was laying there, and we heard something beating on the bed. Grandma was laying up there in that bed with him beating the bed down with her laying in it with the axe. And she there talking about, you better not hit me. With that axe, Lord. I was so scared I was hollering. I just know he was going to kill him. And she laying up there weighing almost 300, talking about, he know better than to hit me. I said, and he had them two-bladed axe laid on his, and he was just hammering away, knocking the bed down. And she just got up and pushed him over in the fireplace. And wanted he hadn't killed that old woman. And she lay up with him, though. She wouldn't let him bully her like he bullied my mama. I mean, my mama's mama. She didn't let him bully her like that.
What was her name?
Her name was Frances. That's what her name was. But anyway, Grandma would leave him and come back. Leave him and come back. That went on, I guess, until they got so old they couldn't leave no more. All right. One day, I was work, and when we got in school down there, though, we went to school. I was very smart in school. I can remember that. I could learn anything by heart. And I was very smart, but he was so mean. We were in a play, Jack Spratt, and I was Mrs. Spratt, and Alex Snowden was Mr. Spratt. Jack Spratt could eat no fat, his wife could eat no lean. So between them both, they licked their plates clean. All right. Oh, we rehearsed and the teachers bragged on me. Oh, I was the star of the whole thing. Now, he knowed I was. I'd been going to rehearsal, and we had been rehearsing for months. Oh, this was going to be a great big school thing. And so he was just as cunning. He ain't been mad in that time about it. He just as happy, you know. How you coming along? In your how you coming along in your school play, you know? I said, fine, Grandpa. Fine, just having my little heart beating, you know. Fine, Grandpa. Yeah, that's so nice. Your grandpa is lying you to go there. So, all right, the night come for the big moment. The teachers was all so elated. They had made my costume, you know. I got dressed. And he sat right there and let me get dressed, too. Sat there on the porch with his mouth looking like all stuck out. And I know then, I said, oh, Lord, what is he mad about now? I didn't say nothing. Hey, God, where you going? I said, I'm going to, I said, I'm going to the school play. I said, you know, Grandpa, the school play that we've been rehearsing for months. You know the one you like. I ain't like nothing. I don't know nothing about it. Grandma said, Sam, you know about that girl in that play. Said she been rehearsing for months. Well, I God, she's not going. Said, you not going? Now she's not going. Lord have mercy, you could have just shot me and killed me and buried me. That my heart was in there. I couldn't believe it. I said, well, I'm the star. Star nothing. You ain't no star. I said, without me, the school ain't gonna have no play. Well, they sure ain't gonna have them. Yeah. Teachers found it out. I had a teacher named Miss Morgan, Miss Anderson, and Miss Glover. Blair's Chapel. There. And the teachers come and begged them, said, Mr. Neal, now, don't do her like this. Said, we can't have no, he likes for you to beg him, you know. Said, we can't have nothing without her, said, because all these months she been rehearsing. You knew she was going to, you know, have. Said, we ain't got chance to get time to get nobody else. Oh, they got on their knees almost and begged and pleaded and begged and pleaded. Hi, God, I guess she can go. Well, I went, but it was never the same. It was not the same no more. And I went because, but you know, just doing the play, my heart was just way down, just knowing how he done me. I decided that all by myself down the hill in the car pasture. I said, ain't no way I'm gonna make it without Jesus helping me here. I don't know where my mama is. I don't know where my daddy is. These folks ain't none of my folks. And these that is my folks don't care what happened to me. Ain't no way. And so I would go down the hill and pray every day till I got saved. And when I got saved, he didn't want you to get saved. Got saved. I got you ain't going to no church. No sanctified church. And he just hate the sanctified folks. Here come away have a Marshall and them. That was my uncles. They were sanctified people. Look at it. Better not come through here. And Uncle Evan ain't done us nobody. He was just a sanctified preacher. He better not come through here. It is old sanctified self. Better keep marching on. After I got saved, you had to slip the church. He beat your ass to death. He caught you going to the sanctified church. You couldn't go there. Now, that old church, he'd make you go to the Baptist church. And he'd go there and for what? He was the biggest devil sitting in the amen corner. Yeah, he'd go to the Baptist church. Every big meeting, he'd be sitting there. Spread and make his wife cook a lot of dinner. And they give what you call spreading the table. So he'd spread the table, you know, and dinner. Everybody go from table to table eating. And he'd tell us, put some of them custards out there. Put that ham out there. Hey, Mr. Neal, Brother Neal, how you? Hey. And he could put on, too. Hey, I'm doing fine, thank the Lord. Ready to fight and curse folks out. Yeah, praise the Lord. I'm doing that. And Grandma said, will you look at this old devil? And if Grandma just look at somebody cross-eyed and he'd get home, he'd fix up. Yes, he would do all them kind of old things.
Shortly after being saved, and while sitting on the porch in Jackson, Tennessee, Thelma and her Uncle Neely Neal saw a hand in the sky. The hand wrote words with the thumb, and here is what was written. A great flood is coming, and bringing with it destruction of homes, property, and a terrible pestilence. Many in this valley will die. The flood will reach across most of the United States. A year later, in January 1937, the flood and the pestilence came, After this, Thelma was known in the Tennessee Valley as a person who was born to be a prophet. See the newspaper articles that witnessed to the Great Flood of 1937. Moderate to heavy rainfall in December 1936 was no harbinger of disaster. However, as the rain, snow, and sleet continued through most of January 1937, soils became saturated, and the Mississippi, Cumberland, and Tennessee rivers and their tributaries overflowed into some of the most industrialized and populated sections of Tennessee and other states. It was to be a record flood year for these river systems, and rampaging waters would affect areas that had never known such destruction and deprivation. Socially and economically, this was the worst single disaster in American history to that date, rivaling the combined effects of the floods of 1926 through 27 and the Dust Bowl drought of 1930 through 31. According to the National Weather Service, 21.24 inches, 156 trillion tons of rain fell in January alone. January 24th was dubbed Black Sunday as rivers overflowed in Tennessee and 11 other states, inundating 12,700 square miles and affecting 75,000 homes. Almost 900 people were seriously injured, and 250 died of drowning and other flood-related causes. A surprising number died in flood-induced fires and explosions. No city, no town, or rural community on these great rivers or their tributaries escaped unscathed. On January 23, 1937, President Franklin D. Roosevelt issued a proclamation stating that the disastrous floods in the Ohio and Mississippi River valleys already have driven 270,000 from their homes. He predicted that the number would probably increase until the floodwaters crested, and that the snow, sleet, and freezing weather added to the suffering and made more hazardous the work of the rescue. Noting that the victims of this grave disaster would be dependent upon the American Red Cross for food, shelter, fuel, medical care, and warm clothing, he promised that various agencies of the federal government would cooperate with these efforts to the fullest extent. To the right, we have a chart of the extent of the damage. As you can see, Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Alabama, Mississippi, even up to Iowa, the states were inundated with floodwaters.
But listen, I had broke out with poison oak working in the field, and poison oak break me out just looking at it. Oh, I was so sick. That stuff was hot, and I broke all out up in here, and the big bumps was hanging down like grapes. And I fell out in that field, and he beat me and bursted them, and that made a mess. So, and I just laid there. I said, myself, you just have to kill me today. I can't go no further. But anyway, thank God you're too sick to work. You're too sick to eat. So I went on home. Uncle John said, let that girl alone. You see, she's sick. And I didn't get nothing to eat, but I didn't care. I was too sick to work. I got something to eat. Then I'll never forget, Grandma fixed up some gunpowder. Old black, nasty gunpowder and sweet milk. And she mixed it up together and, put it on my chest. And that drew that poison out. And sure did. I don't know where it burned or what. It's been so long ago. But she fixed it up. And anyway, so they come to the point where he was so mean. So we had a lady living with us named Miss Ella. Ella says, I'm going to write your mother and tell her if I can find her address. If she don't come and get y'all, she ain't going to have no children when this man get through with y'all. Yeah, oh yeah, I was sick. Mama got this lady. I don't know how, but she must have wrote the letter because Mama got it. Well, when she got the news how Grandpa was treating us, place her coming down there meek and humble, cause she the one left us down there. He didn't send for us, and he didn't make her leave us. And she knew how he was in the first place. But the poor woman didn't have nowhere else to send us, you know. She didn't have nowhere else to put us. And so I guess it was just the lesser of two evils. So maybe she thought he done changed by now. So she put us with them. She come down there raising sand. He said, you ain't going to take them out of this house. We done took care of them, and yeah, you come after them. But anyway, they had a big round there, and she got us and packed our things up, and we left. Oh yeah, well he took care of us for this feeding us when he got ready and giving us a roof over our head, but she sent us clothes twice a year, summer and winter. Some of the beautifulest clothes, Easter clothes. She sent a box big as I don't know what, but brand new. Everything to the socks would be brand new. If he didn't want to let you wear them, be so little. Your things done got too little. I guess it is too little. He wouldn't let you wear them. Let them children wear them shoes, Sam, before they get too little. My God, they don't need to wear them. And one time she sent sweaters and caps to match. And yeah, they were pretty. She would do that. Mama, she tried all she knew how, you know. But these demons just really messed with her. But she didn't go somewhere and forget us like Dad did. He just went on off somewhere and forgot us. But anyway, here she come after us. She got us and packed all our little things up. Told him that, well, I'm taking them with me back to Chicago. I'm getting my shotgun. He was going to shoot him. Now, Johnny said, there ain't no sense in all of that. These children are her children. And you don't come out shooting them and going on. Did none of us want to, none of them wanted us to go because they worked us like dogs. That's what happened. But the thing about it is, they couldn't do much about it. We were her children. Now, in the meantime, Mama had married this Joe Alexander man I was telling you about. Here he come down on a vacation. Another devil. This looks like to me the devil just come in different forms. Oh, he says, my two daughters. Yes, we gonna send and get y'all, and we gonna bring you to Chicago, and you're gonna have a home with you and your mama and I. Well, how old am I then? 14 years old, I guess. I'm just so happy me and May, we going to Chicago. We telling all our schoolmates, we going to Chicago. We going to Chicago. Yeah, we ain't gonna be here. Y'all ain't going to no Chicago. Yes, we are. We going to Chicago. Our mother's married. Our stepfather gonna come and get us. We felt like we were millionaires. We were going. Yeah, honey, we were going. We were leaving them cotton fields and pulling them sacks, hoeing that cotton in the hot sun and sawing down trees and getting up cows and milking and slopping hogs. Oh, we were leaving all that slavery stuff. We were going to Chicago. We couldn't sleep at night. We were so happy. So, here we go, just counting the days. He comes and he tells us, yes, me and your mama, we get an apartment for y'all so you can have your own room. And we just doing it. He give us some money. I guess if he gave us $1, that was big money for us in them days, And so I think that's what he give us. And so Grandpa hated him right away. Yes, I don't like him. Of course, he may have seen further than we saw. So after a while, we got he come on back to Chicago, and Mama come after us. But when I arrived in Chicago, I didn't like it from the beginning. Boy, I cried day and night. I didn't like Chicago and don't like it now. I didn't like it. A great big old, I don't know what. It was a big old place you could never get out of. I don't care where you went, it still said Illinois. I said, what kind of place is this? Never looked like get out of that place. And there was too many people. Just look at this site and look at this. So I went to school, finished Phillips there. Then I went to work. Then I messed up sure enough because I got married there, and then I got stuck. And that's another story. So then I met your dad. Well, I knew your dad, his people. Yeah, I knew his people. I knew his mother from church. I knew all his folks. And he was, because he first come from New York. Then I think they say he moved to Michigan, South Haven, Michigan. And so he would come down to visit on the weekend. He told somebody, oh, that's going to be my wife. I thought he was crazy when I heard it. I said to myself, and he was a man that had real black, wavy black hair and pretty skin. And he was very quiet. Big Mama chew that gum, that's his mother. His mother he was just like his mother. And she would be chewing that gum, sitting up in church. She would chew that gum and come in there and help me with the children. Well, that was Dolores, Herbert, Michael, the older children. She would help me with them. Well, finally, we got together. And so we just decided to get married on the spur of the moment. We married that morning and went back to work that evening.
In the coming years, from 1944 to 1962, Thelma and William had 14 children. They had 6 sons and 8 daughters. Herbert, Michael, Dolores, Norma, Lynetta, Johnny, Earl, Sheila, Patricia, Darlene, James, Teresa, Clifford, and Deborah. Of those 14 children, many of them have become successful people in life. And an additional problem arose when William realized that he had all those mouths to feed and all the children to take care of. A jealous woman decided to pour hot lye on his face in an attempt to blind him. And one of his eyes got blinded, and they didn't properly see about it, and he was blinded and the eye was removed from one eye. This happened back when the older children were born, before Earl was born. And this took William down. He became depressed. How was he going to take care of so many children when people didn't want to take a chance with hiring him? Unemployment led to alcoholism. There we pick up Miss Thelma talking about his alcoholism and the divorce that was looming.
Dad lost his eye. Then that was his downfall. He just sank him on down. Got some lye in it. Well, if they'd have seen about it right away, maybe you know how folks were in them days. They putting it off, and then when they did see about it, they couldn't save it. They call us if it was going to fix the appearance of it by putting a glass eye in, and they couldn't do that. That's reason it stayed shut. They couldn't open it up, and he fell to alcoholism. And boy, if I had a fight on my hand with that, I couldn't go into the trouble I had with that brother. He would be in places he didn't know how he got there. Called me but he was in Youngstown, Ohio, and didn't know how he got there. In different places. Just God, he didn't get here. He just went down, down, down. I pray and pull and pull. And then I said, well, I'm going to divorce this man. The welfare was going to pay for him. They said, no. Yeah, you've been drug enough. He's 17 years older than you. And you just pulling yourself down. So you can't help him. And so they were going to buy him out. I said, yeah. I went to court. The judge said, you won't stop. But in them days, now they say it's a disease, But in them days, they just said niggas drinking because they want to drink. But it really ain't so. But anyway, I was going to get my divorce from him. Then the Holy Spirit told me, no, how many lies folks tell? Marriage vow, you said, until death do you part. Didn't turn around and say it for better or for worse. And I don't know why you locked that in there. Because that locks you good, and you got to be lying when you say for better or for worse. Because when it go to getting worse, who wants to stay in there? But anyway, I decided I'm one saying I'm saved, so I would pray and have prayer meetings at my house and pray. Willie would come in there and look at me praying and he going back out the door. Michael used to act just like it. Come in there and look and going back out the door. But a few sessions of that, then he decided he wanted to be saved. So I called him. Yeah. I was so shocked I couldn't believe it after praying. And that was 1956. I think Darlene was a baby. He got saved and he turned around and he stopped drinking. I want you to know that man didn't drink nothing from that day to the day he died. He didn't drink not one thing. He was the best person to live with. He didn't drink nothing from 1956 to 1979. He died. So he really got saved from that stuff. He helped thousands of people. Yeah, he helped thousands of people. He joined them, and anybody called for help, he'd almost break your leg getting out the bed going see about. Because he realized, I guess, what a struggle he had. He had a good education, but then nobody really wanted to hire him because they scared, that you would get hurt with one eye. Because if he'd have got hurt, the company would have been in trouble. You couldn't get the job that his education would have called for. So that's the reason he went on to South Dakota. And I think 1965 he went there. And he'd come back and forth home and go there and come back and forth home.
After her childbearing years, Thelma was consecrated and dedicated and ordained as a missionary in the Church of God in Christ while she was young. Thelma was known in all the churches for her wisdom and for her wise counsel. Thelma was a youth leader. She also directed dramas and plays. Thelma was also a choir director and a soloist. Thelma also was a worship leader. In 1957, Thelma joined the Church of God and she held many church positions. Thelma made many predictions and prophecies that are still coming true to this day. Thelma taught Sunday school. She was on the communion board. She worked in visiting the nursing homes. She worked in jail visitation. She worked in mental institute visitations. She worked in street meetings. And she was the president of the missionary board. Also, Thelma was a homemaker, life coach, and worked in child development. Mother Rhymes kept in touch with her mother, Sally Jane, and moved her in with her family. In 1959, Sally Jane Alexander passed away in the care of her daughter, Thelma, and her son-in-law, Willie. In 1966, Thelma went on a hunt for her father and found him in Bells, Tennessee. He was now married to Tiller Hulsey, whom we affectionately called Mama Tilly. Mama Tilly, seen here with Thelma after Jim had passed away, lived to be 105 years old. She was a grandmother to the younger children. Jim Hulsey passed away in 1979. Proud grandmother. By the time of her death, Thelma had 20 grandchildren and 9 great-grandchildren.
When he took sick, I noticed he'd come. I didn't know he was sick the whole year. I thought something was strange because he promised to come home. And then he would say, "Oh, I have to work tonight. I can't get there." But I found out he really didn't have to work. He was too sick to come home. And when I found that out, when the doctor up over him told me about it when I went up there. And he would tell him, don't tell my wife. He fell down the steps. He told me himself he was standing up there shaving and he found himself on the floor and don't know how he got on. I said, "You better go to the doctor and see about that." I said, "Because that don't sound normal." Next thing I know, he was saying, "Oh, I went to buy a pack of cigarettes and I just threw them things away. I just said, well, I don't need these things." Well, you know that wasn't true. The doctor told him, Well, I knew then it wasn't true. He just threw them away after 60-something years. The doctors had told him his state. He told me, "Pack your suitcase up and get your clothes ready." And that was June, I think, July something. "We are going on a trip. I'll be through there to get you. We are going on a 2 weeks or 3 or something trip. And so you be ready." Well, I was looking forward to it. I said, "Oh, we going. He be through here to get me." So I packing my suitcase and getting ready to go. He called me and I didn't know him. His voice had gone. He was whispering. I said, "What's wrong with you?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I'm going on my way to the hospital." He said, "I can't talk, something." He said, "But don't you worry, we still going on the trip, And I said to myself, this is the beginning of sorrow. And I don't think we're going on a trip. Got in that hospital, honey, and they tested him. He had cancer of the lungs. And that was why he couldn't talk. They took a biopsy, I said, "You better pack up everything you got and try to sell out of whatever you got to do out there and bring yourself home." I said, "Because ain't no way we can run up and down the road to see about you. We don't have that kind of money." I said, "So you just have to pack up and come on." That hurt his heart. But I said, "Tell the doctor to send all your records." So I met him. He come with all the records. We went on down to Michael Reese Hospital that Sunday, and they took him in. But he was a brave person, because I don't know as I would want to know. I heard him tell the doctor, "All right now, don't pull no punches with me. Tell me how long have I got. And I got a wife and business and things to try to get things straightened out. And I don't want y'all pulling no punches with me." I'm sitting up there crying and going on, He's acting like it wasn't nothing. It's just like it was an everyday affair. You talking about I got to get things ready here and get business straightened out, and I'm sitting up there just crying and going on. I said, I don't believe this man. Then up here talking about how long have I got, and I got to get everything straightened out, and I got a wife and children. Oh, I just couldn't believe it. And he never did get down. Never did take to bed. Well, man stayed up on his feet till he died. Just before he died, me and him were sitting table eating, and I fed him. He couldn't eat, but I did the best I could to try to feed him. And then, but he would always say, I'm going to eat a steak tomorrow. And I said, you are? He said, yeah, I'm going to eat a steak tomorrow. And he keep himself encouraged like that, but he couldn't swallow nothing. And he didn't fall off too bad. I was a lump here. He said, I can't swallow it over. And the doctor kept telling him, oh, it should be gone. I said, why don't y'all stop fooling him like that? And I said, you know it ain't going to be gone. Each time he come, it should be gone. And I said, he keep telling you it's there. It ain't gone. He just took it like a man, like it was. And so he got on up and he told me, he said, well, I said, if you're going to stay up here in the front and look at the TV with me and Michael, he said, no, I don't feel like it. And like he got in a hurry then. He said, I don't feel like it. He said, I'll need to write, look like he said 3 letters. But he said, I don't even feel like writing them. And he went to go around the corner. And I guess I thought he was going around the corner to lay down. So I sat up there with Michael in the living room a while, and I was going to sleep, and I told Michael, so let me get up here, go check on your dad, and I'm going to bed. And I went back there to check on him. I found him laying between the bathroom and that room in front of the bathroom. He must have just fell because he was warm, laying there. And blood was everywhere. So he must have had a hemorrhage. So the ambulance come and got him. All the rest of them come. That was that. Left me alone. I've been alone ever since. Except for the children. Y'all are very nice. Tell me, but you're not my husband. Thank you for listening.
Now, the death of Mama Rhymes occurred starting on March the 18th, 1992. She had high blood pressure, she had sugar diabetes, and she had gallstones. They had said over 900 gallstones. Finally, she went to the doctor that day, and when waiting in the waiting room, she says to me, yet 30 days, and you all are going to be in that room discussing my organs. Sheila, my sister, and I kind of ignored her. I think we just weren't wanting to believe she was in that bad of a shape. But she began to talk like she was going to die. She began to say many things that were going to happen in the family. And she began to talk like it was her last days, which was giving us a fit because we didn't know anything. The doctor hadn't said she was in any major trouble. But as she got sicker, they noticed that she was having heart trouble too. So they decided to do an angioplasty on April 6, 1992. When I took her in for the angioplasty, I said to the doctor, are you guys going to get the gallstones too? And the doctor said, she can't stand a gallstone operation right now. She has too many things wrong. And I said, well, if she can't stand the gallstone operation, how is it that she can stand the heart operation? And the doctor merely said, yes, that's right, and nothing else. Well, Mom began to drift away slowly. She began to talk very little, and she began to eat very little. And Mom had the operation April 6th. They said the operation went fine, but they failed to give her blood thinners, and we failed to have her walk around, and her blood clotted. And she developed a pulmonary embolism on her heart, on her lung there. And that morning that she woke up, April the 11th, 1992, she said to me, I said, Mom, how are you feeling? She said, if I'm going to see the king, should I wear white or black? And I said, excuse me? Still not believing she was that sick. Finally, what they did, about 9 o'clock, just before 9 at night, I was feeding her some soup when she passed out. And I said, Mama, Mama. Oh, about 5 minutes I called her, and then she came to and said, yes, what? I said, oh no, something's wrong. We have to take you to the doctor. She really didn't want to go. She hid her shoes. But when she saw me frantically looking, she said, I'll just tell you where they are. And she began to tell me a lot of things that were going to happen. And finally, we get her to the hospital. The doctors all shake their heads and say, I'm sorry, son. Sorry for what? Sorry for what? Did not know she was going out. And about 1:15 a.m., she said, grab my hands, Clifford. And I went to grab her hand, and I was taking too long. And she said, come on, let's go. And I grabbed her hands, and she said, is this death? And she let out a little smile, laugh, and then she was gone. That same little laugh you heard throughout this presentation, you heard her like that. That's what she did near the end, and she was gone. And like she said about Dad, she left me here alone. But she didn't suffer much, and the embolism prevented her from having serious problems. Some people died in her ward, and they had dialysis machines and all kind of hookups and all of that. Mom was laughing with me and joking to the very end. I would like to end this presentation with her words, which are staggering, and let's hear them in her voice.
And then you show me by the Bible where I'm wrong at. I ain't gonna tarry long before I get right, because when I'm laying in the casket and all of my enemies and friends walk around and look at my dead face, they may put me in heaven, but I'm in hell, and I know that. And you can't keep me from burning, although you may holler, yeah, I believe Sister Ryan made it in. She was this and that. That don't mean I made it in.
Thank you for listening.